So, you're thinking about becoming an armor, huh? I don't know why anybody would want to be an armor. You're going to spend a lot of days coming in long before the commander even gets into work, long after the commander is left. Some of the longest days that anybody works in a military organization, to be honest with you. Yes, everyone does 24-hour duties branch-wide as far as all the various services out there. But yeah, your job, you're going to be at work at 4 a.m. most days, and you're going to leave 6, 7, 8 p.m. most days, depending on the unit that you're assigned to. You can be assigned to a ground unit, mechanized unit, seaborne unit for the Navy and the Marines, an airborne unit, or an aviation unit for your different branches with air assets. Many different missions going on. And normally arms rooms are staffed with 2 to 3 people, and that's usually it. Some sort of NCO or petty officer overseeing things, and then an armorer and an alternate armorer. So you become the subject matter expert of everything weapon systems, from small arms to those units with small artillery. There's units with 242s throughout the branches, except for the Air Force. But yes, you're going to be working with a lot of different small arms and maybe even some small artillery, depending on the training that you go to and the various stuff that you're going to be involved with as far as mission-wise, and all the peculiar equipment you're going to learn as well. You're going to learn pistols, rifles, shotguns, crew-served weapons, belt-fed weapons, general-purpose machine guns, heavy machine guns, medium machine guns, light machine guns, launchers, grenade launchers, maybe some shoulder-fired launchers like the Carl Gustav, some more advanced launchers like the Mark 47, or maybe even units that have the miniguns, M134, Mark 44, Gauss 17, etc. There's a lot of different stuff out there. And the Air Force and the Navy has a GAU 2 deployed off Hueys and various aircraft, and then the Marines have the GAU 21s and GAU 18 50 cals, M3M equivalent for the commercial version, if you will. But there's a lot of great stuff out there. So, what is it like? It's not fun. It's a pain in the ass, but you get to work with weapons. You got a cool job. You got to be an asshole. So, there's guys come back from ranges or going to qualification with all the different weapons, and you got to be the guy or the gal. It's not gender specific. You can be assigned to any various individuals, and some branches have MOSs that are armors. Marine Corps specifically, that I know of at the top of my head, worked with Marines before. They're MOS specific. AFSCs, you got Combat Arms Training and Maintenance, which they do with all the ground stuff for the Air Force, and they're usually security forces personnel. And then they have the 2 Whiskey Air Force Specialty Code that deals with the airborne or aircraft armaments and various stuff. And then Gunner's Mates for the Navy, they deal with normally all the different various weapon systems as well. Go into all the various armored forces. But yeah, so you're going to be responsible for every single weapon, getting a PMCS every 90 days, including annual gauging. Those weapons are to be deadlined, absolutely non-mission capable, if they are not gauged at least once annually. And then National Guard and Reserve units every 2 years. All the different technical manuals, generally the 23MPs, or the 2 Whiskey series or Whiskey 2 series for the Air Force, and then the Marines. The Marine Corps technical manuals are the 23MPs, just like the Army, and the SW series for the Navy. But generally, everyone will use the exact same manual. At the top right corner, will have your different lines for your different classifications of which branches utilizing that same manual approved by their respective approving authorities, chief of staff of each of the different branches. So all of that's going to be the same. What's going to differ a little bit between the branches is the way they store, safeguard, and all that sort of thing. They have their respective regulations. The parent document would be the DODI 5100.76, and then all their branches are going to have specific guidelines for the safety and security of what they call AAME, or Arms, Ammunition, and Explosives. Myself, I'm Army background, but this all is applicable to all the branches. So, what have I seen? Daily operations. What was it like? It was rewarding. I learned a hell of a lot. Okay, I learned every single day until my last day even. It goes much more into just making sure that weapons are clean, that they're inspected, that they're serviceable, that they're repaired. It goes much more beyond that. You have to certify your facility every 5 years. You have to ensure that it's abide by the different guidelines and that it's structurally sound and capable. Because if not, for some sort of reason, or if the regulations change, then it has to be modified. Whatever the case may be. Vault combinations have to be changed. Different services, like I say, are going to have different guidelines. It should be changed, and that's why the DoD has set guidelines to have it change every so often. Normally, a combination is classified secret and kept in an S2 element, the written combination for that vault. We found vaults before that you go to. The original code for the NOSR safe is like 255025. There's been vault codes that have been found by inspectors that have never been changed. Okay, and that's just because the Army does armors as an additional duty and not necessarily an MOS. So whatever MOS that your unit is, they're going to have an assigned person or, multiple individuals that are going to be assigned additional duty. And it's going to be a full-time job, a very busy job, depending on unit size, how many weapons they have, etc. When I was in charge, I was assigned for over 350 individual weapons and a lot more various equipment, well over $1 million worth of stuff. So I had a team of a couple of great individuals that I work with. Absolutely stand-up gentlemen that really kicked ass, that really ensured that our company's weapons worked. We would go to battalion qualifications, and Bravo Company, our weapons were the only company normally not having a lot of issues, and we were pretty decent at administering preliminary marksmanship instruction and remedial marksmanship instruction to ensure that our scores at the range were higher, that our personnel were more combat effective. So, it goes way beyond just what you would typically think that an armor does on a daily basis. You're going to encounter hostility. So you work in the customer service field in a regard, or you could say it's a customer service. So you have to be that guy or gal that will kick back weapons unless they are spotless. Reason being is you will get inspected by the Inspector General's office and your respective physical security offices. And they're going to check for weapon cleanliness. And if they're not clean, that's a hit on you. It's up to the individual fighters to ensure that weapons are clean, at least in the Army. Crew serve, it depends on what type of unit and missions and etc. There's in the Air Force the 2 Whiskey AFSCs that deal with aircraft armament. They do all the cleaning of all those various weapon systems. So it's not like a set in stone thing. But it is a hit on you if you undergo a surprise inspection. And then a report goes to battalion commander, and then he gets in your ass, and then it's not a fun day. Commander gets involved, and it's not cool. So, unfortunately, you're kind of like bound to be that asshole. So, a couple of things that I found that really pissed me off was that you would have officers and senior NCOs just hand their weapons off to like specialists and privates and lower enlisted personnel to clean, and that is absolutely unsatisfactory. If you draw a weapon, you go to the range, you fire it, it's up to you to clean, not anybody else. And then you have to deal with all the drama and the bullshit of, oh, you're just a bunch of lazy motherfuckers and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, look, I don't care what anybody thinks on the outside. We're actually extremely busy. All these mountains of paperwork that you have to maintain for at least 5 years. Normally, unit SOPs are written to where they're kept indefinitely for inspections. It's a lot of fucking work if you do your job like you were supposed to do. So there's a reason for it. Okay? Advantages. So obviously you're going to be attending a lot of ranges. You're going to be the on-site armor a lot of different places, more than likely, at different training events or even missions. So your MOS, depending on what you do, you'll be going out on missions, and you will be attached to the unit still, acting in your MOS capacity, and you're going to be repairing the unit's weapons still, even when you're on mission. So where you'll be doing missions maybe 3 days a week and doing arms through 4 days a week. It all depends on like a deployment. But yeah, so at the range, anything that breaks or anything that fails on mission, you got to get those weapons back up. Normally when a weapon's deadline, you got 24 hours to either repair it and do the necessary paperwork, or evacuate it to a higher repair authority if you're not authorized to make the repairs, to ensure that weapon is fully mission capable. Okay, and now usually you'll have your small arms repairs, which would be your Marine MOSs, will be embedded with units. It's good in the Army. That's not always the case. In my case, I saw higher level training, which I got, and had maintenance authorizations to do higher level maintenance, like field and direct support, things like that. So I could replace a barrel, have the appropriate tools and equipment to do that field level maintenance. And, because a lot of units in the Army, you'll normally have like 2 of these small arms repairs. It was an old MOS 45 Bravo, nowadays it's a 91 Fox. You'll have 2 of those personnel maybe for a whole brigade of different various companies and units. That's not enough personnel to do the job. Okay, they go around and they're supposed to do all the annuals and whatnot. That was pretty much impossible where I was. I was doing all that stuff, with approval, of course. But you're going to learn a lot. I honed so many feed ramps of M4s and M16s, it's not even funny. But the difference is our unit's weapons worked, okay? Because in any given day, I was doing at least 3 to 7 PMCSs and various repairs every single day, all with documented 2404, 5988E, and they had to be updated to the SAM systems. And now it's G Army for the new, or GSS Army for the new, I think it's actually GCS Army for the new system, which is what we're working with today. But to track all your services, when they're due, when something's going to be overdue. But it's a more efficient system than the old SAM system Army. I can't speak for the other branches, but all the inspection criteria is the same, no doubt. That's all going to be the same, because it's spelled out right in the manual. And each branch will have their peculiarities, like the Air Force. For your aircraft armaments, normally you have, like, for annual gauging, for instance, you have like 25% of the fleet of however many weapons you have done semi-annually, and the technical order is what they call it. So there is some peculiarities. But yeah, you're a jack of all trades and master of some, not master of none, because you have to be a master of some. In garrison, it's all about passing inspections, unfortunately. You're constantly being inspected, surprise inspections. Normally you'll have an approved memorandum of authorized personnel from the various inspection authorities who will just pop in unannounced at any given time. And normally they're not your friends and they're not nice guys. They're there to do a job. You are not there to be their friends. They're there to basically ensure that everything is in compliance and that everything is running smoothly and you are doing your job. So it trickles downhill. So then in turn, yes, like the arms room that we operated was a small team of us, which is great guys. We had a pretty nice shop. A lot of crew served weapons and a lot more individual small arms. But everything was clean generally at all times. Some soldiers didn't want to clean their weapons. They figured out, it's an intangible rule among armorers. You're not supposed to accept bribes, but if you see a $20 bill in the chamber of a weapon, it's like, okay, you just have more to do on your own time. If you're going to stay later, if you're going to clean that weapon, etc. But you can't leave a weapon go unclean. So that is an absolute must to be a fully mission capable weapon. So, but perks of the job are normally you get to go to a lot of ranges, you get to shoot a lot of ammunition, and you get to test fire a lot of weapons that you repair. Okay, like 249s, 240s, a lot of the crew serves the 50s. Anytime you make a repair, you're supposed to function fire a weapon. Needs to be fired, needs to be tested. So that in turn gives you justification to draw ammo, dispatch a Humvee, go to a range. Maybe it's not even within your brigade, so you got to go to operations up at your battalion asset, or group or whatever unit you're in, whatever branch of service you're in. Coordinate that range so you can get on their version of the manifest or whatever, so you can be on the firing order, so you can go fire and do your testing and then go back. There's a lot of advantages to that. So if you love shooting weapons, yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of work repairing various weapons, making various repairs. Not just function with dummy cartridges, but some of the manuals, they say you should do a function fire live ammunition. You get to do those sort of things. So it is rewarding. And to see the fruits of your labor, that the weapons do work when you depress the trigger and pull the trigger, it's a great feeling. You know that you're going to send guys and gals out there with serviceable weapons, so where if their life is on the line and they pull that trigger, it is going to work. Okay, you have a very important job. Very, very important. A lot of people think it's just a bullshit job and it's a punishment. It's one of the most important jobs in the DoD. They need to have serviceable weapons. Okay, going back to talking about a jack of all trades. You're going to be writing standard operating procedures. Of course, command is going to review it. They are going to proofread it, and they are going to ultimately approve and sign whatever SOPs that you write. But you have to become affluent with different writing styles and different procedures in order to have an effective standard operating procedure for your unit. Okay, like that is one of the most important things that I learned doing that job. So you have all these various tasks, all these various inspections, you're issuing weapons, you're receiving weapons from cleaning for turn-in after various different details, ranges, deployments, exercises, etc. You also have to basically be not necessarily a professional, but like an amateur professional, right? To ensure that you have a rock solid standard operating procedure. To ensure that inspectors are happy that you have a system that works. I had a team that really helped me with that, and we had a really good system. So we never had any weapons that were quote-unquote off the books. That's very bad. That can get your arms room shut down and your command relieved. Very, very bad. If you ever find that, that's to be reported immediately, and that needs to be fixed immediately, because that can get a lot of people in a lot of trouble. Okay. You're going to be dealing with investigations. I recall, I think it was Alpha Company, which was our sister company. We worked within the same building, but they had like 14 advanced combat optic scopes, ACOGs, go missing. I think like There's like 10 or 15 of them, I do believe. But they up and went missing. I guess they never went in the property book. Supply never wanted to put on there. But yeah, CID was down. They interviewed everybody, especially us, got fingerprinted, all that sort of stuff. So you will be dealing with investigations from stupid shit happening like that. Okay? Like, I don't know what it is, and I've been working this field for over 10 years, but anything to do with arms rooms and armors, uh, investigations are just the nature of the beast. So, from experience, be honest. Don't try to cover up mistakes. Don't try to cover anything up. Just be straight and don't be a criminal. Don't be crooked. Be straight. Okay? Do your job to the best of your ability, and yeah, that's it. You're going to see shady shit, and it's not good. Okay? Uh, just be forthcoming with all that stuff. Investigations are never fun. But as long as you're honest, yeah, everything will be fine. You know, don't steal shit. Okay, somebody in Alpha Company or whoever, was a culprit probably. I think even to this day, like no one's ever found out. But yeah, so that's one example that I can think off the top of my head that happened. So yeah, so we covered investigations. Um, investigations. It's bullshit, but it's protocol. All right. Um, Dealing with stupid people. Okay, people are gonna drop weapons. Weapons are gonna fall off trucks. They're gonna get fucked up. Okay, and you gotta fix them. All right. I can think of several M16s and M4s that fell from 5-ton trucks. And not just the little sight post in the middle of the sight tower, but the whole sight tower. The whole A-frame sight was bent. And normally that's a whole barrel replacement. You can try to save them even though it's not like an approved procedure anywhere, but you can get lucky and hammer that whole A-frame back into position because you'll be maxed out in your rear windage and you'll be shooting the next target over. Okay, so when that happens, and I've seen countless amount of A-frame sights with that, and about 50% are salvageable, where you can hammer the whole A-frame back and align it straight, where it's not cannon anymore. It's going to throw off your zero. Dealt with that. All right, 240s. So you have your lock collars that are anywhere from 2 to 7 clicks. Okay, soldiers, marines, airmen, seamen sailors are gonna over tighten it in different branches, or they're gonna get dropped and get fucked up, and now your head space is gonna be out of tolerance. So that collar normally has got to be replaced because it's been damaged. So it's a roll pin and the collar. It's not hard to take apart, but you got to get a new one, and get it replaced. All right. And the handles can break off, okay? I recall a 240 falling in between an MRAP door and broke the handle right off. So it was a replacement of the handle and the lock collar itself. So, yeah, you're going to be dealing with a lot of stupid stuff. Feed pawls and feed pawl springs, okay? And your crew serve weapons, that is your lifeline. In 249s, your drive rod springs, even though it seems like it works and it functions, they get weak over time, and there's no real true inspection to check for weakness, just for cracks in your drive rod spring. Replace those springs, okay? That is normally the culprit, as long as your gas regulator and your gas port's clear and all that sort of stuff. If it's a clean weapon, it's not working, look at that stuff. Make sure your feed trays are good. All right. This was in the process of learning. I had 44 M249s and 16 M240s, if I recall correctly. And those weapons were older weapons. 249 was fielded in 1985. Okay, they've been around for a while. That being said, They're older weapons, so you got to maintain them. You got to take care of them. Rust accumulates like crazy, especially in an arms room that doesn't have any dehumidifiers. I think we ended up getting like 2 dehumidifiers or something like that. No, I think we had a small one and a large one later. And we ended up, I think, getting rid of the smaller one. We just used a larger one. But you're going to have to keep COP on the bare steel, these rifles, machine guns, grenade launchers, etc., because rust is going to accumulate. And it's not fun for anybody involved, because if you issue out a weapon that's full of COP, of course, individual fighters can be upset. And that was my case a lot of times. Our unit constantly went to JRTC and NTC and all these various places where the climates were different, where especially Louisiana, rust is just terrible, especially in the rain. So you have to, in order to have serviceable weapons, without basically rebuilding the whole damn weapon, okay, on like an M4 or an M16. And then the cruiser weapons, your whole receiver is made of steel. And when that rusts and erodes away and gathers pitting and etc., that's permanent damage that you can't just replace, because those components are normally like an XAFDA SMR code. It's a depot level repair. It's got to go to depot, okay? And that's never a fun process. It's a pain in the ass doing those 2407s, getting them to depot, it's a hassle, okay? So it's going to make your life easier doing it. Whatever process that you come up with. But don't accept dirty weapons. That's my best advice. You can't, unless that your unit, you're the all-inclusive guy or gal to do all that stuff. The Air Force is keen on that, and they have their experts for doing that sort of stuff. So I respect and understand their doctrine. But as far as other branches, like if it's under their guys, don't accept it, because normally how the system is set up is that there's so many weapons that you can't do all that stuff yourself. You're only going to have time for your inspections, your 90-day PMCS, your annual gauging, your various different repairs that you're going to make that are going to require either dummy rounds be cycled or your function fighters. And then something that I've seen that is gone under neglect is when new weapons show up to a unit, they get put on the property book and they get a service upon receipt and inspection. Normally all the preservative gets removed from the weapon, whatever lubricant that you're using for that series of weapons gets applied, and then dummy rounds get cycled through that weapon. Service upon receipt is important, because even the major manufacturers, there are discrepancies from time to time. I can think of M4s that we had that were new at the time. They just had that new MWO where they had that fire control group replaced. Okay, so we had all the kits, and then the receivers had to have laser etching where it X'd out where it said burst on the lower receiver, and it had auto put in its place underneath. I can remember several of those failing to work after we did the MWOs. Okay, so it's important to do service upon receipt for modifications and new equipment. All right. Always have your operators do their monthly PMCS, their individual operator PMCS, and make sure that you document all that stuff to ensure that you have operational readiness rate of ideally like 100%, fully mission capable weapons. If not, for whatever reason, you're going to have a very good justification why you have a deadline to unserviceable weapon. Okay, like your grenade launchers. The Mark 19s that I had were in very bad shape. Cracked roller cams or cam followers, bolt fingers that were binding, bolts that were damn near unserviceable because of how much pitting on the bolt face themselves. On and on and on. You know, you're going to come across some pretty bad situations, and you're going to have to know what to do. It took a lot of work to get those Mark 19s back in operation, but after all the work that we did, those weapons were some of the best weapons in the military, I would argue. So we had probably the most operationally ready arms room, if you will, full of weapons. Arguably, probably in the entire of all DoD for the manpower that we had, the amount of training and missions that our unit did, and the amount of personnel that we worked. You know, it was just a team of 3 of us. So, and then when I had Ford deployed, my primary armor, he was actually the rear detachment armor for all the arms rooms. He was a battalion armor, okay, like whatever they left in the rear because we were the most squared away. Well, we had the best OR rate, best performance, best compliance with everything, best inspections, and our weapons worked. Were we popular among the unit? No, because we had to be assholes. That's just our job. But our weapons did work, and command, for the most part, was satisfied with us. Okay, they're going to have their pet peeves because sometimes we are too hard on weapon cleanliness. But it's a necessary evil. Just my opinion and the armor's opinions in general, but it is a necessary evil. And also I've found grave evidence of armorers not doing their jobs correctly. I have seen from other units and other branches, for instance, M4 and M16 bolts. Okay, when you put a bolt on its bolt face uncollapsed, it's not supposed to collapse in on itself. It's supposed to stay to ensure the integrity of the gas rings. I've seen a unit out there, which I won't name, recently, where 100% of every M16 and M4 bolt that I checked and inspected was unserviceable, and one bolt had a gas ring that was like basically completely missing, very small portion of it, and the weapon would jam every second round, okay, because one of their gas rings basically wasn't even there. So, grave evidence of armors not doing their jobs, okay? So you're going to encounter that too. You're going to see that. And if it's an additional duty unbestowed to you, it is damned important. It is important that you do your job and do it to the best of your ability, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, try to do all in your power to do something else. Maybe there's someone with a genuine passion to do that sort of work. That's your ideal circumstance, to have someone doing that work rather than someone that doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to be doing it. Okay? If it's someone that doesn't want to do it, it's set up for failure and doomed from day one. So, if you're passionate about the job, great. You're going to lead a very successful career, or if you're just going to do it for a short time, or maybe even a year, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to do a lot. It's just like all the other functions in the military. You know, if you have your fuelers, your cooks, your mechanics, all your different various occupational specialties where the work never stops. It's not just work when you're deployed. You are constantly busy. It never ends. You have a very busy job. And I like being busy in the military. The time went by. You got to see the fruits of your labor. You constantly learn new stuff each and every day. Okay, the training that you go to doesn't do it any justice. Even 6 months of training, it just doesn't. You know, you're going to learn a lot of different stuff. You're going to see dangerous stuff. Like I remember there was a chick that shot a 203 point blank into a sandbag. We all thought it was going to blow up, and or no, that was training practice. Never mind. It wasn't going to blow up, but it blew the sandbag up. Okay, like she made an error and basically put a 203 40 by 46 point blank into a sandbag and blew up the sandbag. All right, had that been in like an HADP round, Could have been a whole different ballgame. Normally he's got to travel a certain distance, for it to actually go off. But you're going to see some dangerous stuff too, and you're going to have to answer and basically be sort of a miniature investigative authority on it. So it's good to learn and to know the systems, because you're going to have those commanders and maybe even higher ask you about this sort of stuff. So just like, for instance, somebody that deals with all the Humvees and LMTVs and JLTVs and MATVs and MRAPs and all these different vehicles, like that is their MOS. Like 63 Bravo, I do believe it was, lightweight vehicle mechanic. It used to be the MOS anyway in the Army. They're going to be the subject matter experts on those assets. But, they're not going to be a subject matter expert on weapons or some of the other stuff. So they're going to go to you and ask you, they want to know basically the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, and why. They're going to want your take on it so they can make a decision on what they want to do, whether, okay, they just want to make like some sort of safety or caution, like, hey, this happened, discuss it in the training meeting, and how do we go about preventing this from happening again, something like that. So it's your duty and responsibility to provide that quality assurance to the command. Okay, like, just be the backbone that we enlisted members of the military are. All right, enlisted military members are the backbone of the military, regardless of what anybody says. I mean, that's 100% factual statement. Officers can't do what they do without us. I mean, it's just fact. And you talk to anybody out there, that's just how it is. And I've worked with some great officers too. So that being said, this was just kind of like a little bit lengthy look and insight into the life of an armor. All right. If you love weapons and you want to learn more and possibly have a rewarding career even after you leave the military, doing this sort of work, it's just not restricted to the military. Once you leave, you take those skills with you, and it will open a lot of doors. Working in the industry, the manufacturers, working on various contracts that have contractual requirements to repair and maintain weapons, working as like maybe a federal officer somewhere, working and maintaining federal assets. They may have various machine guns and carbines and rifles, etc. Or if you would like to go seek even more training or, become a tradesman and learn gunsmithing, crowning barrels, doing trigger jobs, different various things like that in the commercial markets, that's out there too. So there's a lot of different things that you, as a talented individual, from learning your fundamental things that you did by doing all these repairs and all these daily operations, safeguarding and providing security to all these weapons, will be an asset on the outside as well. And normally is a rewarding and profitable career. So you have that to think of as well. So basically, broaden your resume and portfolio. Make yourself marketable. If you love everything's weapons, all inclusive. My background wasn't just small arms and destructive devices, it was aircraft armaments as well. Learn as much as you can. Take a keen interest and become that subject matter expert where people are going to stop like going to whoever they know and going to you because you're the all-inclusive subject matter expert on all the stuff. And this is going to help you in the long run. Don't be arrogant. Don't be cocky. Do your job. Yes, you have to be an asshole sometimes, but be there for those individuals that need you, that need their weapons service and repair. Okay, and you'll build that astute reputation amongst not just people within your unit, but also within your battalion or higher authorities as well. They're going to notice. They're going to notice the hard work that you do and that you put in, and it's going to make your unit more combat effective. If you have any questions, the reference material for this, all the various different publications covered. There's too many to name and list, just because of how many branches there are and how many different procedures there are. But it's all relevant. Thank you for watching. There'll be more info and more videos to come.